Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you're all doing wonderfully. So I'm back again with another part to this little berry mouse animation. I've got Berlioz here with me. Berlioz, you gonna say hi? No? Okay. He's a little confused because we've moved the offices around. So now my husband's workspace is where my workspace was, and mine is back in the other end of the house where it's nice and sunny, so I can have nice light coming in. Oh, there we go. Now he's chatterboxing behind me. He'll probably start shouting. You can possibly also hear the rain outside. I'm right next to the exterior wall, and all I can hear is rain dripping outside because it is raining today. But that's fine because we like rainy days. So, in this video, I'm going to be taking you through just basically drawing in all the rough frames in between the keyframes that I showed in the last video. And so this is the last part of the digital version of this little berry mouse animation process. After this, I do return to animating on paper, which is wonderful, and it would be going a lot faster if I wasn't moving offices around and off gallivanting. So I went to Cheshire Print Fair day before yesterday and I got some amazing prints. So I absolutely love wood carving, wood engraving and lino cut prints. So I got to go up to Chester Cathedral and I got some gorgeous prints from some amazing artists. I got some from Pickled Pennies and Custard for Gravy, and Beth Knight was the artist that I'd actually specifically gone up to go and see, and Ellie Clifton's work as well, because she does these amazing woodblock engravings and they're so intricate and so cool. And then yesterday I decided to, on a whim, travel all the way down to Crickhowell. So I live in North Powys and Crickhowell is in South Powys, and Powys is a really long county. It's such a long drive, and it was like, oh, it's okay, it's still only in Powys. It was 80 miles away and I drove it and my wrist was killing me when I got home yesterday. But I did get to meet Martin Truefoot-Baker, who is this stunning artist. He's my favourite artist ever, and he was so kind yesterday, and he took the time to explain his process to me and everything, and I was actually quite wonderstruck. So definitely go and check out his artwork. I really desperately want to get one of his Mary Lloyd prints. So yeah, that's what I spent the weekend doing, and not animating this, which, you know, is fine, but I would very much like to get back on with this animation now. So, I mentioned in one of my previous videos that, I underestimated how many frames I actually needed in this animation. So when I was doing my charts, sort of around about this point, they started to get really out of sync. I needed to add in so many frames just to have that nice timing that I wanted, and that ended up kind of having a knock-on effect throughout the rest of the animation. So where it would start with just missing out a couple of frames, or no, that's the wrong way to put that, missing a couple of frames out of my charts and then having to add those in. As I was working and as I was getting further and further through the animation, I realised that I hadn't allowed for enough frames. So I had to keep adding in 61-2, 61-3, 61-4, or, you know, in odd numbers rather than sequential numbers because they were on twos. But yeah, it wasn't good. And then when I came to do this walk cycle the first time, and again, I think I mentioned it, did I mention it in, I think it was the last video, where I said that I didn't consider the mechanics of how he would turn and then move into the walk. Like, I didn't take enough time, I think, to just slow down and actually think that through. And you could really tell because of how bad the walk cycle was the first time round. Like, the actual keyframe didn't match like where he would be in that time of action. So my keys were in the wrong place, and then normally, like, sometimes when you make mistakes in animation you can recover pretty well, but normally if you make a mistake with your keys, then you make a mistake in the breakdown, and then your in-betweens are wrong, and it all just compounds itself. So I ended up going out for like the afternoon just to get away from this walk cycle, to try and like actually figure it out and think it through a little more. And you can see where I start to put the little markers down of where his paws should go and where his footfalls should be, like based on what I think his stride length should have been. And it really did look as though he was like stomping along. But another problem that I had was when you're animating a quadrupedal walk cycle, it can be difficult to figure out like how far behind in the cycle the back legs should be. Okay, and again, I mentioned it last time, but to reiterate, when you are doing a static quadrupedal walk cycle, and when I say static, it's just like straight from the side and it's literally a cycle. Normally what you can do is when you've got the front legs on the contact points, so that's where the front leg has come down and it's the first frame where it touches the ground. So when you've got the front legs on the contact point, generally you can have your back legs on the passing point, so that's when you're halfway through bringing the leg round to then be put down. So you can work to that kind of formula. And the first time I did it, it didn't work. And you can see where I started to write the notes down, and I think it might be in one of the future videos actually, where I show the notes that I made about the walk. And so this part was actually after I had considered it more, and you can see where I'm copy and pasting like the keys a bit more, and I'm making sure that the feet line up correctly. So I was really happy with the little digital walk the second time round, because he does this cute little trundle and it works a lot better. So it really is so important that when you are doing any kind of action is you make sure that you carefully plan and stage all of those actions out correctly. You know, you take the time to actually think it through and make your notes and make your thumbnails and get down as much information as you can. And this is why the planning stage of animation is so important, because as fun as it is to actually get in there and start animating, and you know, sometimes you can animate on the fly, but most of the time, like I would say about 95% of the time, it is better to actually make sure that you plan everything out correctly and to break it up into smaller bites and smaller chunks of work, so that you are just focusing on the first bit of action, and then you're focusing on the second bit of action, and the third, the fourth, and step back every now and again to make sure that you have a good overview of where it is generally heading, and to check in and make sure that you are following the overarching direction, but to actually go in closer to your animation and break it up into mini projects so that you are focusing on that action, and every action is clearly thought through and it is clearly staged. And by doing that, you will make sure that your animation is very clean, it's very believable, and you give yourself enough frames to actually pull that action off believably, because it's not just the movement that's important, it's the spacing around those movements. It's giving the movement a chance to land and to breathe and yeah, so that's all staging, which is one of the 12 principles. I would possibly say it's perhaps one of the most important principles. Like, it's definitely up there. I mean, all of them are important, but staging is the one that you really have to think about first, and every other principle kind of stems from your staging. So yeah, it's definitely one of the leading principles, I would say. So we're up to the point where the little mouse is now up on the mushroom, and he's just about to turn around and sit down with the little berry in his mouth and start eating. So I think this was kind of the last point of the animation that I actually felt happy with it. Like, from this point on, it started to kind of fall apart a little bit, which again is, I think it's mostly down to the fact that I didn't stage it out properly. I didn't think this part through, and the whole animation itself was really feeling like it was so overwhelming at this stage. And it was one of the things that I really realized, that after he started chewing and it already felt like I'd done this mammoth task, that then a tiny brown mouse comes in, and I still had so much left to do. Like, I'm not sure what frame number I was on here, but I think it was, let me see if I can squint. Oh, there we go, 159. Like, this animation was 437 frames or something like that, or 463, I can't remember, but I know it starts with 400. And at that stage, I was still only, like, I wasn't even halfway through it yet, and it had already felt as though it was really draining me. And so I started to get quite lazy with, like, trying to do these actions and these animations. Like, I have him lick his lips before he goes to chew the berry, which itself is a really cute little action. But all of these little actions were starting to stack up and take their toll, I think, on my, not my psyche, that's the wrong word to use. My brain's gone blank. I'm listening to the rain outside and my brain's just gone, no, shut down. Yeah, like, it was just really impacting my motivation. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. My motivation. And writing that big long list on the right hand side that you see every now and again through these frames of, like, where the bite starts and everything, that's a big list, and I still got it wrong. Like, it still wasn't enough frames to actually give this action enough time, and it ended up feeling like his little chewing sequence both lasted too long and not long enough. It didn't feel like it was well executed. And, like, actually trying to clearly stage a chewing motion, because it's quite a subtle action, you know, unless the character is chewing with his mouth wide open at every opportunity. And yeah, chewing's quite a subtle motion, so it's like, how do you animate that subtlety? And I think I missed the mark, and I struggled a lot with the timing, because, like, you can see where I'm going back and I'm trying to adjust the timing, and it didn't help that the berries were in the wrong place. So, like, every frame I had to draw in new berries from the keys because they'd moved, and just, like, all of those little things all kind of added up to me losing my enthusiasm for it. And it really shows, because then by the time Tiny Brown Mouse comes in, I'm really cutting corners with the animation. And for something where I'm not even halfway through it yet, that's a really bad sign. So I'm not trying to make it seem like it's a really negative thing, but this one really did make me question my choices. And yeah, the fact that I did try and cut those corners when Tiny Brown Mouse comes in. So what I should have done was I should have actually animated him as a whole character, so this little mouse, rather than just a little floating head that sort of comes in off the side, because I could have dealt with the masking and everything afterwards. But what I should have done is I should have drawn Tiny Brown Mouse as an entire character. So I know he's off stage, but it would have helped a lot with actually getting his positioning right and his movements and everything if I'd have actually drawn all of that in, even though you don't see it, rather than him just being this little disembodied head that kind of floats in. And I got it all like bamboozled and mixed up, and it really didn't look nice. And like you can see where there were two different angles to his head as well, and that didn't help. So yeah, I should have animated him in fully, but because I'd already lost my enthusiasm for this one at this stage, it was like I didn't feel like I wanted to keep going. And you can see where I added in all those frames of like the chew loop start and everything. I had to add in so many extra frames of the other mouse chewing to actually give me enough frames to get Tiny Brown Mouse onto the screen. And this is what I mean by mistakes in like the keyframing stage then compound mistakes done in like breakdowns, and then all your in-betweens are going to be wrong, so you end up multiplying your mistakes as you go along. And that really is what happened here. And then like by the time I'd actually got to the end of where I left it with this digital version, yeah, I was actually considering just not animating anymore at all. Like that's how bad it got. That's how much of my enthusiasm this little animation drained. And it's a shame, but I feel like it also led me to where I want to be and where I was supposed to be, which is where I am now. And it's what led me back to animating on paper. So it worked out in the end. And I feel like I'm a better animator and artist for it. But yeah, I still could have done without that kind of stress. So that all being said, I'm going to take everything that I've learned with this animation. So everything that I learnt to do, that I did wrong in this animation, and all of the lessons and everything, and I'm going to apply that to the animation that I'm doing now. And hopefully this time around it's going to be fine. So what I might do is I might actually end up working on like smaller animations, because I know this one is a big animation now. Like there's no doubt in my mind that this one is actually a big animation. And even if I take it only to the stage where Little Mouse is chewing on the berry and he's eating it, if I only take the paper animation up to that stage, it is still quite a large animation. So what I might do is I might actually start animating some smaller ones while I'm working on this one. So it might be like, I know that I've got some videos coming up that have nothing to do with this animation. So I went out painting up at my local castle, I went out to gardens, I've been testing out like mat board cutters and stuff. What other videos have I got planned? Just like some character design videos and other painting videos and things like that. I might work on Little Brown Mouse alongside some other animations, just so that I don't kill off my enthusiasm completely again, because it really is heart-wrenching when that happens. And like you end up sitting there questioning your life choices. And that's not a good mindset to be in. So please feel free to come and follow along. You can find me on Instagram and Threads. I am Thimbleloft on both of them. And no matter what the subject matter is or what it is that I'm creating, it'll always be focused around animation and painting with watercolours. I might, after going to visit Martin Truefit Baker, I might give like lino cutting a go at some stage. Like, I think it would be nice to do a background and then animate something on top of it. Like, that would be really cool, but we'll see. I have a habit of buying one of everything when I start something new. So I'm having to resist going out and buying absolutely everything you could possibly ever need to do lino cutting, like all of the expensive tools, all of the lino, all of the rollers. And I suppose it's good because I am flat stone broke right now that I can't go and do that. So which is really funny. But like, even when I was talking to Martin on Sunday, when I went down to visit him, and I was saying to him then that it would be really nice to try out lino cutting, and he was being so lovely, and he was like enthusiastically showing me his work. And my daughter was standing behind me, like really quietly whispering, "Don't do it," because she knows that I go bananas when I'm buying art materials. Like, she has to rein me in so much. It's quite funny. So yeah, please do subscribe and like this video if you want to join along. It'd be really great to see you in the next one. And yeah, so next step's going to be painting with moose out in the garden. So that one's going to be a nice video, and it'll be a good little break, I think, from the little berry mouse animation. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.